Hi, friends, and welcome to another YBT short. Today, what I'm going to be talking about is my interesting week that I've had, and but more importantly, some of the insights and the lessons that I have learned. I get a lot of messages from a lot of folks. Thank you for that. Who send me messages on Instagram about, I came for the Bravo, but stayed for the insights. And so sometimes I know people like these episodes where I share my experience, strength, and hope, and I share some insights and some awareness that I've gained because I know, I'm very emotionally intelligent and I've worked on trauma, but I'm human and I'm still learning and I'm always hearing new things. And so, for me, my purpose is this to, try to share my experience, strength, and hope and help other people. And if I can do that, well, then I am just incredibly thrilled. So, also, one quick note before I got into all that is that thank you for the messages about the shorts. They've been very successful. People have really enjoyed them. Um, and people have kind of shared some other names that, some suggestions. And there was one that I really liked, which someone said you should call it bite sized bish. And I think that's so sweet and so cute. So cast your vote. Do you like YBT short or bite sized bish? Either way, it's the same bish, it's the same content, the same voice, same insight. So, either way, but I appreciate all the suggestions for the names. And, I appreciate it because the thing of it is I really do get emotional support from this community. It's wild. It sounds wild. I don't know. I don't know. I just appreciate it. So thank you to you all for, the lovely messages and the kind words and the support and all of that. Because, it's really interesting on Instagram this week. As Instagram content creators, we get like a professional dashboard and it tells me how many views that I'm getting. So I was looking on Instagram and I see that, although I have 13.2 thousand followers, I like 500,000 people have visited my page in like the last 30 days, I think. And so I put out this message in my stories and I said, why don't some of you all follow me? And I got back some interesting answers that I'm not going to lie, I wasn't necessarily prepared for, but there were people who enjoy me who sent me messages and said sometimes it's like follow fatigue and, people want to see their friends and their family and they don't want to feed full of Bravo stuff, which, is more than fair. But it's just so interesting how sometimes this job, what I'm doing, it just triggers so many of my issues from trauma and things like that. People are constantly judging me and criticizing me, and it's hard to get good feedback and positive support. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why have I created this for myself yet again? Gee, I wonder why. So my point is that sometimes we create our family dynamics over and over and over in our lives, whether it's with friends. A lot of times this happens in work environments. People are in work environments that are very similar to their family dynamics growing up. And, there are no coincidences in that, I don't believe. I believe that we continue to put ourselves in scenarios based on kind of subconscious, what we're used to growing up, and then we recreate that, but then we don't always realize how we create that. So it's interesting because don't worry, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. I'm just appreciating the challenge that this is giving me, and it is making me aware of some of those blind spots that I had, and it's helping me in a lot of ways. So I did one episode on this podcast. It was either season 1 or season 2, I forget, but it was just kind of talking about my health issues. Because in addition to having a chronic cancer, I also have so many other conditions. I have POTS, I have Raynaud's disease. POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And actually, it's so funny the episode that I'm referring to, I talked about these other medical issues that I had because, people think, oh, well, she's so sick because she has a chronic cancer. And it's like, no, because I just have 1 million other health issues. And I have so many that I left out POTS, which is like one of the biggest ones. It's not funny, but it is. It's funny to me because, when you lose track of your own diagnoses, that's like not, you just have to laugh. That's where the dark humor comes from. But so one thing that I really struggle with, in addition to POTS and Raynaud's, is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disease where my joints and my ligaments are all hypermobile and they don't work properly. And so my connective tissue, it tries to hold things together, and then that's a disaster. I'm not explaining this well, but anyone who has hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos knows that it comes with just chronic pain, muscle pain. I also have neurological problems and muscle tremors and all these other things, in addition to cervical spinal issues in my neck and in my lower back. I mean, legitimately, my body can be a nightmare. I am in pain every day, usually on the scale from like a 3 to a 6 is where it usually lands. It's never less than that, but sometimes it's more than that. And so this week, what happened is I was doing physical therapy for the hypermobility. In addition to my hypermobility, my shoulders are formed incorrectly, and I literally never knew that until last year, which tells you a little something about my medical neglect over the years, just based on a whole bunch of systems that don't even get me started on that. But anyway, so my shoulders are malformed. Most shoulder, it's like a ball in a socket, and mine is like a ball on a flat surface, if that can give you a visual. And so my shoulder is constantly dislocating. It clicks, it pops. Shoulders aren't supposed to do that. And so for all of this, I'm going to have to deal with this for the rest of my life because, of course, like growing up, I certainly was not attended to. Nobody noticed that I was hypermobile. In the 80s and 90s, I don't know that people knew that was a thing. But either way, I'm going to be 44 years old, and I was in dance and gymnastics because everyone was like, oh, you're so flexible. And it turns out all of that just really hurt me. Now I live with that, which, listen, I'm just grateful to be alive. So there's some days where I don't care about that. And there's some days where I really do. And this week I was doing physical therapy, which was helping me. I have been doing it for the last year now. Let me be clear about this. I have been doing physical therapy for a year, 2 times a week. And it was really, really helping. The only thing that I can do is make my muscles stronger to support my crappy joints, ligaments, and connective tissue. So really, lifting weights and strength training was what I had to do. And it made me feel so powerful and so in control, and also just like so strong and so in charge. And it also really helped with the pain. And so I kind of like, Emily Simpson talks about on Housewives of Orange County, she talks about how it is kind of like addicting in that way. For me, it became kind of addicting in that, it hurts. I'm in pain no matter what. So I might as well have good pain from working out. And then in the long term, that was helping. However, 2 weeks ago, I went to physical therapy and I got presented with the largest bill in the world. So in the last year, I'd been going twice a week, and my insurance company and the agency I was going to, I'm not going to say their name, they were going back and forth about what I owed. Well, I'd been going twice a week for a year, and it turns out I owed a lot, like a lot. And so I had like a breakdown because I just felt like, everything that I love and that works for me gets taken away from me. And it just created this depression. And I was just like so upset and distraught. But obviously, that's complex PTSD. It's not just about this. It's about all the other times and the other ways that my insurance company or medical community have said, well, this is something that may help you, but we're not going to pay for it. Or no, you can't, whatever it is. And so for me to find something that worked for me and then to feel like the rug was pulled out from under me, it really triggered a lot of other stuff. And so, I was taking some time to, I can work out on my own. That's not a problem. But the reason why physical therapy helped is because when you're hypermobile, I hyperextend everything. So I'm talking about my neck, my back, my shoulders, my wrists, my elbows, my legs. Like if I'm standing up straight, my legs will bow backwards because they're hypermobile. So the good thing about physical therapy was I had people to watch me. But I was like, you know what, Melissa, we have to pivot. We have to adjust. But before I pivoted, I was really sad. I was sad and I just, I experienced like a bump in depression and things like that. And so here's what I've learned. Today I had therapy, and I feel like today I'm kind of putting it all back into perspective. And here's what I've learned is that sometimes when you have mental or physical chronic health issues, or both, we have to do something called acting opposite. Acting opposite means if you're depressed and you say, all you want to do is lay in bed, or you're tired, you're fatigued, the last thing you want to do is get up and do something. But for mental health, the best thing to do is acting opposite. Well, it's the same thing works for physical health. And so my struggle that I like to share with you all, because I know there's a lot of survivors and thrivers that listen to this, is having to pivot a bunch of times can get frustrating, and it gets overwhelming, and it gets tiring. It gets tiring to think that this is the life that I have, that I'm connected to this unhealthy, dysfunctional medical healthcare system in the United States, which people listening to this from other countries are, they laugh at us. It's ridiculous. We're a laughingstock to other countries in terms of this is supposed to be the greatest country. And yet, look at where healthcare is. My point is that today, what I learned and what I realized is that sometimes you have to act opposite, and sometimes it sucks. So I guess what I'm here to say is that, if you're feeling depressed, if you have fibromyalgia or, a chronic health condition, sometimes we have to act opposite and lift weights and move and work out when that feels counterintuitive. So I just want to validate that. And I want to validate that it sucks, because that's kind of what my therapist said to me today. Like, Melissa, this just sucks. It just does. And it's not going to suck every day, all day for the rest of my life. But for the last couple of days, it has really sucked. It's made me angry, our insurance and the healthcare system and, just a lot of different things. So what I plan to do from here on out is I'm going to develop a plan. Tomorrow I'm going to look at a new gym. I've never been a gym person. As a woman, I feel like going to gyms for me has always been uncomfortable. Unwanted male gaze and all of that. I'm sensitive to that, admittedly, and it's kind of the reason why I've stayed out of gyms. But this is a new era. It's a new day. It's I can protect myself and take care of myself. And so, guess what? I'm going to the gym. Just got to find one, and then I got to start lifting. So the other thing I wanted to say for folks who are listening who are hypermobile is that I had been strong and doing great, and I'm not joking. Over the last 2 weeks, that I had a dip in my depression and I didn't act opposite and I, stayed in my self-pity, I am in insane amounts of pain as a result of that now. So now what I'm doing is saying, okay, well, I had to sit in that. I had to wallow. We all deserve a wallow every now and again. You just can't stay in the wallow. That's it. So today I'm out of the wallow. I'm moving on, finding a gym. And the point that I was making, I'm sorry, is that it didn't take a very long amount of time for my shoulders and my joints and all that to start hurting again. And so it's just a note for people. Sometimes I pathologize myself and I say, well, I'm old and, this is hard and I have this, but aging is hard and getting older is hard and, being human is hard in this world. So I just, I'm feeling sad, but better. And, sometimes I just want to validate for people that that's the best that we can have. It's a mixed bag some days for people like me and for people like us. If you're someone who resonates with this, I send you all the love and support in the world. It is a constant journey, and I'm happy to share, again, my experience, strength, and hope with you all, because for me, what is the point of all this pain if I do not give it purpose? So it's comforting for me to know, that I can do this and I can talk to people and I can help people and I can validate people and I get validation too. So, it's a win-win. Love this community. Thank you all for your continued support. Please let me know bite-sized bish or YBT short what you prefer. And stay tuned next week. Lots of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives coming, a collab with Amy Phillips, a collab with Mandy Slutsker. It's going to be a week. So until then, please take care of yourselves and each other, and ta-ta for now. Disclaimer. Posts are not intended to diagnose, treat, or provide medical advice. Your Bish Therapist is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The podcast, my opinions, and posts are my own and not associated with past or present employers, any organizations, Bravo TV, Greyheart Productions, or any other television network. The information in YBT podcast and on its social media is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat. Please do not act or refrain from acting based on anything you read, see, or hear on YBT podcast or associated social media. Communicating with YBT via email and or social media does not form a therapeutic alliance. Melissa, operator of YBT, is unable to provide any therapeutic advice, treatment, or feedback.